Welcome to the very first session of our WeWork Labs Business Growth Bootcamp. It's always a very special moment to kick off a new program. Our topic today is repositioning your business to scale. And before we get to the meat of today's session, for those of you who are new to us, this event is hosted by WeWork Labs. WeWork Labs is WeWork's platform for startups and small businesses, and we provide mentoring, discounts, access to a global network, and professional development through virtual programs such as this one for free to all WeWork members. And you can learn more about us at we.co/labs. And our team is very excited to be partnering with DC Startup Week in putting on this program. DC Startup Week is an annual 5-day conference for the largest entrepreneurial community in the Washington, DC metropolitan area. The conference includes over 100 experts and founder workshops and talks, networking sessions, happy hours, pitch competitions, and a lot more. And this year, DC Startup Week will be held from October 18 to 22nd, and it will be a hybrid event experience with both virtual and in-person pass options. So you can attend the virtual content for free, no matter where you live. So don't miss out on this chance to connect with the DC startup scene and with many other people from all around the world. So to learn more, please visit dcstartupweek.org. All right, I'd now love to introduce today's speaker, Seema Alexander, who has been absolutely instrumental in bringing this program to life. With over 2 decades of experience as a business strategist and chief marketing officer, Seema is the founder of Disruptive.co, where she partners with visionary entrepreneurs and professional services organizations to reposition their companies to stand out in crowded markets and double their impact and profit, with her 6-step proven strategic decision-making framework called the Unique Method. She also runs an all-female CEO 10-week business and brand growth accelerator and is a strategic advisor and co-organizer for DC Startup Week. A quick note on session logistics today. We'd like to encourage all of you to share any and all questions that might come up at any time through the Q&A function, and we will leave some time at the end of the session to answer all of your questions. You should be able to find the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Seema, we're so glad to have you. I've talked enough. The stage is all yours, and you get the rest of the airtime today. I'll go on mute.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to first make sure you guys can see my screen. It's all set. I'm going to hit present. Stephanie, how's it looking over there? You see it?
Yep, I can see it now. Looks good.
So first off, I want to thank WeWork Labs for this amazing partnership with DC Startup Week. We've been working hard over the last few months to get this business growth bootcamp series started. And it's my honor and pleasure to be able to be one of the first ones speaking to you. And what an incredible international crowd it is. So I'm very excited and pumped about that in general. Today I'm going to be speaking about a concept that it's near and dear to my heart. And it's near and dear to my heart because I am so passionate about entrepreneurs, and specifically about entrepreneurs being able to grow and scale their expertise in the market, both for impact and profit purposes. So today I'm going to first ask you, because I do, every time I have a talk, I have to set intentions and I have to ask, I can't see you, but I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and I'm going to trust that you do, just for 30 seconds if you would, okay? I want you to imagine a time when you wake up in the morning and you feel completely aligned to your brand and your business. It represents your core values. It represents your why. It provides you motivation and drive to want to tackle the next opportunity, next partnership, next client, over and over again. Your product offerings get raving reviews, and you are providing the transformation and the impact that you are meant to provide. Your marketing and sales funnels are cohesive, working together, are targeting your ideal client over and over again. You're delivering what you promised through your unique signature approach. In fact, you're exceeding expectations. Your customers are basically selling for you because your expertise is finally being recognized in your industry, and your reputation precedes you. You're living in the moment that all entrepreneurs dream of. Now open your eyes. I love this quote. I love this quote. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't. so you can't spend the rest, so you can spend the rest of your life like most people can. That is an incredible quote, because I think most of you on this call know it's not easy to build a business. And if I believe anything, I believe that there's no such thing as overnight success. It takes time and expertise to build what you're building. And sometimes people don't understand, right? And that's why communities like We Work Labs and communities like DC Startup Week and being part of moments like this is really important, to be focused on what you love and what you're passionate about with other like minds around you. And just know that I see you and I hear you, and what you're doing for a purpose and a reason. And today I'm really, really, this one, really, really wanting to move from like looking at, for your purposes, like the reality of what most businesses look like, in 2020. And, I went from this inspirational moment to this moment of craziness, because there's a good friend of mine who runs a pretty large company, Angela Gia Kim out of New York. Her company is Savor Beauty. She would always tell me entrepreneurship is gorgeous chaos. And so when I see this lady on the left side, it's a meme that's probably super distracting right now and a little bit annoying over time after you watch it over and over again. But here's the reality of what happened to many people last year. What happened to, I've worked with a lot of people on pivot strategies and growth, but when I look at this next meme on the right side, and this is sort of the transformation I would like to take you through today, at least give you the concepts and the framework around it. As you see a gentleman whose chair has been taken on from under him and he falls. And you see another gentleman whose chair has been taken away from him and he's grounded. And so what we're going to be focused on is how to create grounding in your business, how to make your business unique compared to others, how to stand out in the marketplace, and how to grow and scale from there. So 2020, yes, that crazy year, but it really did have somewhat of a silver lining. And I know, it was different for everybody, but what I would tell you is the silver lining to me is what I try to get my own clients to do, which is force them to stop and pause, which is force them to focus on, this whole concept of work on your business, not in your business, which is so hard when you're trying to build revenue streams and you have a team maybe, and you're trying to write marketing copy and all of these things. But guess what? Last year, wherever state you were in, and a lot of people, it actually was incredible growth, a lot of growth in 2020. But the concept of it forced you to stop and pause is what I want you to think through as we're talking about our topic today. The key of stopping and pausing is assessing in your business what has worked and what hasn't. And what does that mean? What does those insights mean? How do you move forward with using them? And I'm hoping today is going to give you some of those insights in what I share with you. So this presentation is optimally for, I think if you're earlier in business, if you're in a product, it will still be helpful, but it's optimally for a CEO or someone working in a professional services-based company at a minimum of 4 years. And I'll share why in a few minutes, you'll understand. But you could be in 35 years or different types of inflection points in your business. You could be lean, a solopreneur to 250 employees. It doesn't matter really on that side. But the key of it is that you're struggling with the best way to differentiate yourself against your competition, and or standing out in the market, or you're just done with saying yes to multiple things, because when you build a business, that over time you will gain traction if you're out in the market. But with traction comes opportunity. And sometimes it's hard to say no. And that can actually deviate you from your focus and from growth. And we're going to talk about that today and how to, mitigate some of those things and stay the course. Some of you may be serving many unideal clients, or your brand has a little bit of confusion in the marketplace. So this presentation is really for you if you're looking for a strategy to consistently attract your ideal client, streamline your offers, and really build some thought leadership in your niche in the marketplace the right way. What I did want to provide is a little bit of a disclaimer. This is not a conversation about people, process, and technology. All super very important things, right? Of course. But what I believe is that this is an opportunity, a precursor to that, if you will. Even if you have a team and you're working on processes and operations, obviously very important, and you keep doing it. But this is an opportunity for you to reflect on your experience, on your expertise, on the market and what's going on. And really at the core of it, what makes your business unique? What makes it different? And that's the heart of our conversation. It's going to be the heart of my strategy and the methodology that I teach. So I know Stephanie gave you a little bit of introduction on me. I like to spend a few minutes just talking a little bit more about me personally, so you really hear why I'm passionate about what I'm passionate about, and hopefully it connects with you a little bit. Again, my name is Seema Alexander. I'm the founder of Disruptive.ceo. It's a strategic advisory firm focused specifically with professional services companies and entrepreneurs, and really building out their brands to scale. And I use this concept called the unique method, which we're going to go into a lot of detail in today. I'm also a mom. I have two kids, Raina and Serena, who are 7 and 11, and two puppies, Taji and Brookie, and I live outside of Washington, D.C. Well, all that to say, my entrepreneurial roots started in the 1970s. My parents were immigrants from India, came here with literally nothing. One of those immigrant stories, with like no, only thing we came with, Seema, was like shoes on our feet, one of those. Worked really, really hard and started the first Indian vegetarian restaurant, catty corner to the White House, I think in about 1978. And, it was a pretty incredible community experience that they built. 3 restaurants, a travel agency, and I sort of grew up small business. Started working when I was 12 years old, from caterings to managing people to stocking the vending machine, anything and everything, janitor in chief, you know how it goes, right? But what did happen over a 20-year span, business went from doing extremely well to close to bankruptcy. I was 16 years old when that all transpired. And what really was crazy for me is I kept getting calls from the bank, and they were talking about foreclosing on our house. And I didn't really know all the implications of what were happening at that time. But what I did see at a young age is when a company or a business does well, the CEO or the founder, you just stand up much more confident, and you're just like building and you're engaged. When things aren't going so well, there's implications on relationships, on health and life, on finances. And a lot of personal things happened in my family at that time, but it started to grow I would call it an obsession now, right? To understand why businesses fail and why they succeed. So I actually ran away after college. I decided, I learned a lot in college about strategy and marketing and, the importance of investments and communications in business, all these key important things. But I ran away from everything entrepreneurship. And I decided I wanted New York City. I wanted to be a CMO of a Fortune 500. I wanted leadership training, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I ended up an anomaly in my generation, stayed about 13 years at Prudential Financial, and had a really incredible opportunity to work always in business strategy, brand development, and growth. Initially working with about 2,500 financial planners and agents, talk about a commodity in your market and how do you differentiate them in the market, right? That was part of my role. How do you create, they had a practice building area. How do you create a business that helped them sustain even further? They were basically entrepreneurs within the large organization. And then the big milestone for me was I got to work on the historical rebrand of Prudential Financial. And that was an incredible moment because I learned that all businesses evolve. Who you are when you first start is never where you end up, right? But when you do an exercise like that, which is a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today and sort of the work I've done with many entrepreneurs over time, this repositioning exercise is not only about how you want to be, like internal clarity on who you are, who you serve, what you do best, what's unique, but it's also the way you're going to position yourself out in the marketplace so you're known for that. And that's always part of the missing link in some of these exercises. Long story short, 8 years ago, I got what I consider now is a midlife awakening. I had done well in corporate for a long time. It's a really funny picture. It's the only one I have from the hospital. I was 36 years old and I had a pulmonary embolism for the first time in between both of my children. And I almost died, not once, but twice in a week. And it really shook me, as you can imagine, but it also grounded me, probably like COVID did for many of you, of like, wow, what is it that I really want to be doing, right? What's that purpose? What's that next phase of my life going to look like? And I had already started side hustling for a long time, working with entrepreneurs and growth when I was in corporate, and I decided to go all in. Initially in a couple startups, and then I started building disruptive.ceo. And at this point, I have worked with I've lost count, hundreds of companies, from small businesses, literally from solopreneurs and personal brands, all the way to Fortune 500. And, it's resulted in this, enhanced business and brand authority, millions of dollars of revenue, and unmeasurable impact. But part of what I did over the last several years was really start to hone in on what were the trends, what were the things that I was seeing that either made companies successful or didn't. And part of what I'm going to be sharing with you guys is exactly that. And that's the way the transformation of the unique method came to play. So let's start first, though. I'm going to go through the evolution of business and professional services very quickly. I'm going to go through 5 things that CEOs of service-based providers, service-based professional services companies, what holds them back from scaling, right? And then we'll go through the unique method, and I'm open for Q&A. Stephanie is going to be monitoring the Q&A from WeWork Lab. So I might ask for some interaction throughout the process with chat, or else we can do Q&A at the end. So here's the reality, the market of professional services, and I know this is an international crowd, but so it's much bigger than this, right? Now in the US, it's $2 trillion in combined revenue. And the reason I show this slide in general is because if you look to the right, when you think about professional services, it runs the gamut from business services to consulting to real estate services to GovCon to health to, marketing agencies. It really does run the gamut. And so when I show this image, this is what I wanted to get at, is this is the evolution of a quote unquote professional services company. I want you to take a look, think about your own experiences through this process. Might not be exact, but I'm telling you, I've shown this to so many people and most people resonate. The first year you launch, you're learning, right? You're throwing spaghetti against the wall. You're trying to figure it out. Over time, there's pivoting. And if you're staying the course, there is traction over the years because you're out there. Might not always be traction on the same types of stuff because, sometimes we get a little bifurcated when we're in service, right? But then there does come an inflection point, and you need to figure out what is it that you want to be when you grow up and how do you want to position yourself. So you may never have said those words, reposition your life. I get that. I'm putting it there just to show you that that's sort of something, sometimes it happens accidentally. And sometimes it happens intentionally. My goal for you guys is to focus on having it happen intentionally and faster. So, this is interesting, right? Because we are at this one place where you have the reality of what it should look like, right? And then, as you all know, entrepreneurship it's a little crazy sometimes, right? Sometimes you have amazing opportunities, you build so much traction, you have great clients, and the next time there might be, a loss of a client. COVID-19 happened, a major employee leaves if you have employees, right? Or a contractor. And so I kept looking at, all right, what is it? Like, even in the midst of all this, and we already know all the trends, right? 8 out of 10 businesses fail the first 18 to 24 months. That used to stick to me for a long time, but I realized working with a lot of businesses that honestly, not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. Right? But that next inflection point, that half of the businesses that remain fail at 5 years, to me, that's when the crux hits the road. It's like, God, you've made it this far. If you just make some right decisions through that process and validate some of the key things, what could that look like for you? And so I did a lot of homework on, what made professional services companies stand out and why. What were the ones that were super successful? And how could I work on something to help my clients and others using this framework to get there sooner. So 20 years of experience, client after client, case study after case study. As I shared before, all organizations start one way and you look completely different even at these different inflection points, right? Because you have different experiences. You have, you think about market, competition. You think about the way the market is going, even this year from last year. Your ideal client is completely different, right? Because everyone has different moments. But the ones who stand out in terms of the companies, the ones that are most successful, they've declared their validated, unique place in their market after they've proven themselves. And so this is why I asked you, for the optimal group, you're at least in business at a minimum of 4 years, because you have things that you have learned through the process. And this methodology is going to teach you to use that data, your own experiences, your own expertise, the market data, and really make some decisions of how you can be seen in the marketplace in a very unique way. So I love actually looking at brands that I respect in random ways, just to see, wow, they did it really well now. Where were they before? And this is just good for all of you guys to see. I'll explain who they are in a second. But like I said, when you first start there, you're kind of just throwing spaghetti against the wall. This is EYA. EYA is a developer, a real estate developer locally in this area. And if you look at the left side, compared to where they are today, it's night and day, right? They were like everybody else, kind of a little bit of a crappy website. They're just trying to figure it out, right? They designed homes originally in the city. Over time, they went through their own exercises. They figured out where they're unique compared to their competition, where their core competencies lie. And everything that they do from a vision, from a development perspective, is this concept that they learned that, hey, I have all these people that want to leave the city. They want to move to the suburbs, but they want to live in a community that's like a city. Can we bring the city to the suburbs where things are walkable and accessible to restaurants, and there's a community center, and there's, so everything that they do is focused on that vision. They have different projects, of course, throughout the area, and actually they've expanded outside of DC and Virginia and Maryland, right? But that positioning has really differentiated them in the world of development, and it's their unique positioning. You look at Paradigm Management. I know the CEO really well, but I never worked on any of their stuff. This is a government contracting firm. Very interesting in the beginning. Okay, again, this was 12, 15 years ago. They were focused on information technology and business processes to drive measurable results. They tried everything, literally got their hands on everything. But over time, they realized where their strengths lies, where their core capabilities are, where their IP, their own approach is different than other government contracting companies, which a lot of GovCon companies don't do. They don't really look at like the market. Everybody kind of looks the same. So I give them kudos, but they focused on, data management specifically in the full life cycle. I won't go into all the details, but they've done a good job, and both of these companies are doing extremely well in the marketplace. So what are the 5 biggest mistakes experienced service-based providers make that holds them back from scaling their impact and influence and profit? And I would love in the chat, if any of these resonate to you, either you've gone through it or you're going through it now, please feel free to comment. It's always good to know where people are at. So the first thing is that they are scared. The first finding is that they're scared to niche down. So when you first start out, many service-based or professional companies go out as a generalist, right? So they're known as a generalist, not as a specialist. We can do everything. We'll full service. And in the beginning, you might just try to figure out where your sweet spot lies. But if you continue down that path over time, you're still known as a generalist. So people don't know what to come to you for, right? So you don't become a go-to expert. The second thing that happens a lot is they have too many focuses, right? So they say yes to a lot of different things, and all of a sudden they're working on all these different focuses, which in the market can actually discredit your credibility instead of make you someone that they're willing to or excited to work with, because you're stretched too thin. And that has a lot of impact for the people who have teams that they feel like they can't provide the service, if you will, when they're working on so many different things that are not, cohesive to the vision, if there is a vision at all. The third one is working with too many unideal clients. We're going to go into this in more detail later, but this is a really, really important finding, because without really knowing who your ideal client is and mostly attracting them. A lot of people in business, like we all have to have and have done it, right? Where it's like you just need the revenue in. So you're going to say yes to people. And when you say yes to too many people that are your unideal client, you better believe that it's going to be very hard for you to scale. It's going to be very hard for you to scale because there's no structures and frameworks you can create around that, and what it leads is to imposter syndrome because you're working on things that are not always in your sweet spot. And the last one, or actually, sorry, there are two more. Your brand is a best kept secret. So you're doing all this amazing work, but because you're head down, a lot of times it's hard to articulate that externally. And lastly, you're not clear where you're headed. And so you say yes to a lot of opportunities. It derails your progress because you lose purpose in your own work, right? And I've heard many people say to me, Seema, I'm falling out of love with my business. Even though I'm really good at it, I just am falling out of love because they haven't connected to the purpose in a while. And we're going to focus on that in a few minutes. So what does that all mean, right? Then you get all these questions from CEOs. I don't understand. We're working so hard. Why am I not attracting our ideal client? I've hired marketing agencies and they tell me like, I've done all these digital ads and it's not working. I feel so burnt, right? And the reality is there's some foundations that marketing agencies and others cannot fix until you work on that business model and that brand, that reconciliation, which we're going to talk about today. Many people as your prospects and your employees have similar concerns about when certain things are not in place, there's questions that lead to inconsistencies in your brand and your reputation. So here's my frustration. There's so many capable, smart entrepreneurs, smart organizations that are not reaching their potential for real growth, impact, and profit. And for me, it really kills me inside, but I know why it's happening. And so that's why I've developed a framework to help support people, individuals to organizations around this. But I want you to think about something, how that's all correlated. And I don't know, again, how many people have felt any of those things in the past. But when your brand is confusing in the market, it leads to bad referrals. Bad referrals can kill your business because it's wasting your time and you're working, like I said, with unideal clients if you say yes. If you have a lack of focus, it leads to this constant hustle. You don't know where you're going, right? If there's a lack of quality leads, it leads to a scarcity mindset where I have to take this. I need the money, right? When you're serving unideal clients, it leads to lack of scalability, as we talked about, and the lack of structures leads to inconsistency in profits. So when your foundation is broken, it's hard to scale. It's not that you're not doing amazing work. That's not it, right? It's not that you're not serving your clients the way that you know best and you know how. But there's some fundamentals that I want to teach you today to get you aligned to working with the people that you're meant to be working with that are really going to value what you do, pay you for what you accomplish, pay you for the transformation that you can provide and only you uniquely can provide. And it's going to change a lot in your business. So here's the missing link I found, right? There's the business model canvas. Some of you may be very familiar with that when you're writing out your channels and your partnerships and your activities. The Lean Startup, if any of you are in tech, it's a great book specifically to create your minimum MVP, right? Your minimum viable product. And then EOS, which I really love, which is the growth world of people, processes, and technologies. And they have a great system to help entrepreneurs build on that. But what I found is that there is no guide for CEOs and entrepreneurs, again, in the service-based industry, when they're going through an inflection point, right? And what I would say is this is not a rebranding exercise. I'm not talking logos and visuals, albeit that could be part of the process in the end. But this is more of a strategic exercise. This is an exercise for you to understand internally what is it that you do and do best and how you want to be able to say that out in the marketplace and position yourself with the right people. So obviously I love this meme. It's just a fun one, right? Like, God, that's spaghetti. I don't know how they did it, but it's time to give yourself permission to stop throwing spaghetti against the wall and make those hard calls where you really are playing at your strengths. When you play at your strengths and you start to build momentum with the right people, I'm telling you, you're going to sit up straighter in your chair. People are going to notice. Your thought leadership starts to come together. Your content starts to come together. Your partnerships and relationships start to come together within your field. And that's the stuff that I want for you. So that's why the unique method was born, right? This is a strategic blueprint. It's a business growth framework, right? To move you from being a service-based provider to a sought-after expert. This is another reason I said you have to be in business for a minimum of 4 years, right? You've had to identify your level of expertise and where your passion and conviction lie so that you can own that expertise. You can become either a expert in the market or a Sherpa for many. So here it is. This is also the 6 steps that I have seen over and over again that the service-based providers that are in the market that are doing super well have figured out, okay? And listen, there's a lot in this, right? And I know I only have, 30 more minutes, right? So I'm going to try to give you enough to think differently. And if I can do that today, I did my job, right? I just want to give you some insights. I want to give you some concepts. You know, I run accelerators, I do workshops, I do consultancies. I mean, this stuff can take time, but for those of you who are ready, when you start hearing the steps, I bet you things can start to really play out in your head of what this could mean for you. And that's what I would like you to do today. So the first step in the unique method is to create the unicorn vision. I'm going to go into what that means in a few minutes, because the reality is service-based organizations a lot of times don't even focus on any vision and missioning or any of that stuff, but your business is actually bigger than yourself. And we're going to talk about what that means in a second. The second step is niche positioning. So moving from this general to specialist, but not making you feel like you're in a box. So we're going to talk about what that means. The third one, which I think is the most crucial of them all, the first 3 for sure, but the third one is your intellectual property. So you're a service-based provider. You've been in the business for a while. If you get clear on your vision, if you get clear on who you want to go after, and you have done the validation in the market to understand the outcomes they're seeking from a company like you, and you start to validate, man, this is a process. This is a framework. This is what we've done over and over again. Why don't we own that? Why don't we trademark that? This is what makes us unique and different. And we're going to talk about that. Okay. So those key 3 decisions makes the other stuff much easier. So I know the struggles of like, God, I got to get my branding up, my messaging. I got to get thought leadership out and content and social media and like how to marketing in general. Like there's just so many other pieces. But if you get the first 3 to a better place, step 4, 5, and 6 will be easier. I promise you that. So in general, the unique method will help you identify your earned positioning. That's what makes this different. Your earned positioning in the market by helping you answer the following questions. So this is not about, in the beginning, throwing spaghetti against the wall and making a ton of assumptions. You have enough data about yourself, your expertise, your experience in the market to make some smart decisions for your own company now. What the method does, it's going to tell you why do you exist, so your vision. What do you do best and what do you want to be known for? So your niche and your positioning. Who do you best serve? Sounds so simple, right? It's something that people talk about all the time, but it really is different when the way you think about it right now, because you're actually going to do an assessment of your own clients to figure out where is it that happy medium of the clients that actually value you and are willing to pay you, and you're able to give the outcome that they're looking for. Fourth is, how do you deliver on consistent results, so your transformational process, and then your secret sauce, which is how do you do things differently, authentic, and better? And then who needs to know, right? So that's the big thing. This whole best kept secret stuff, no more, right? I'm giving you permission to like toot your horn a little bit. And don't think about it like ego. I want you to think about it like you can serve more people when you get your message out there, but you have to own your excellence. And that's what we're going to have a conversation about. So with clarity, it builds momentum, it builds acceleration, and it builds alignment. It's that simple. It's not, again, nothing worth it is easy, but it's that simple, right? So I'm going to give you a couple just quick case studies, and then we're going to go through the method. So, this was Candace Colon, CEO. She actually used to run a multi-marketing company. It was for clean beauty products 6 years ago, I think it was. She's out of France. It was like her opportunity to have a partner, and they're working all this stuff. And through that process, they created this concept called the Clean Beauty app. And what it is you literally go to your phone, any woman or even the man, right? You click on the back of the ingredients in the back of any one of your beauty products, and it tells you the toxins that are in it. It gives you all this information about the company, you name it. It's like a database of amazingness if you're into that, right? And so she started creating it, and crazy enough, her downloads were exploding. And I was like, hey, are you capturing the people's information that are actually downloading the app? And so she added the email address and then started some sales funnels and realized, and there was opportunities now to sell on that app. But over time, because of sort of the repositioning of thinking about, wow, I have a lot of data, she actually created, closed down her multi-level marketing beauty company and started a data analytics company focused on beauty analytics. And in the beginning, the L'Oreals and all those people are haters, and now they're clients because the amount of data she was able to capture. But that came with a repositioning. That came intentional, right? And now the amount of media and amount of the growth she's had is incredible. I'm going to be showing you different industries, different level of entrepreneurship, from solo to, $500 million, $500 million companies, because the process, it can be more complex when you have more people, but the steps are the same. So this is Melina Melkani, a client of mine from 5 years ago. She was a nutritionist for 15 years, worked on things like, losing weight and geriatrics and all this stuff. And when she started her own company, we actually got her niched into an area that she had so much conviction around. She has 3 kids, young ones, 3 girls. And she focused on this whole thing around picky eating. And that's a real problem in the market for parents, as we all know. And what happened, she started talking a lot about picky eating. She wrote a lot of content, all this stuff, started building up a media following. But she got hooked in and was asked to write a book on baby-led weaning, which is like when young babies, when you're trying to figure out what you can give them without choking. That's a big industry and an important one. And now it's been a few years where she took it and owned it. And now she went from a niche, she went from generic to a niche to a sub niche. That's what I wanted you to see. She's at almost close to 100,000 followers on Instagram. Her content is on point. Her sponsorships brand sponsorships are immaculate. Her speaking engagements have grown because she decided to go all in. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Think through as we go through this method. What have you been doing? Where do you play to your strengths? Where does the market lie? How do you go all in? All right. This is Anne-Marie Bola. Anne-Marie Bola was one of the first. She's a woman engineer, and I'm going to kill the name of her. She was in this Marine program out of New York, but one of the only women there. She's done a lot of work in facilities management. If you look at that ship on the bottom, she's been on these types of ships in the facilities rooms when she was, in her early stages for her career. She started Enhanced Building Solutions, focused on just facilities management training as a concept of, knowing that there is a gap of these older gentlemen or older people who have all this experience and knowledge of all the systems in each one of these, either buildings or ships, but there is no taking that information and giving it to the next generation. So through her process, she actually went one step further and created a technology where she does a lot of virtual reality training, takes this incredible videos of these facility centers, and literally every place that you go, you can see like how, if something was to go wrong, how do they fix it, how do they do it? But that became her niche. And it's done her well, both from a government contracting side as well as large facilities around the country. And this one I just wanted to share because it's a nonprofit, but it's near and dear to my heart. I just went through a large consultancy with them, but this was game changing. This was one of those like, wow, the methodology has taken me to another level, because These individuals have been in business 35 years, focused on alleviating poverty all around the world. And so they say. And so as we got clearer in what they did, because they were working on multiple different projects and so many different focuses, that even the board members were having trouble articulating who the organization is today and what they do in a succinct way. And so we were able to go through the unique process, which again, we're going to go through in 1 second, and really own their vision of not only now going from helping 5 million people to from poverty to prosperity now to 10 million, because we focused on their unicorn vision. We got them focused on their core capabilities. And on top of that, we created an intellectual property, their methodology for what they do, which is scalable poverty alleviation in this space, that no other NGO can say they do. They don't look like every NGO now. So I just wanted to show you how this all works. And just last week, they got 4 contracts, large contracts, which is really exciting. But that level of clarity adds to the way that the CEO and the individuals, if you have teams, represent who you are. So in this process, I'm going to now talk through the unique method. I'm going to look at the time. We have about 30 minutes. I'm going to use this example. Again, this is another type of industry, right? It's real estate development. I'm just continuing to try to show you it works in different ways, okay? If you're in professional services, this works. So this company was a client of mine years ago, S7 Real Estate. They started out, brother and sister team, really focused on just restoring Philadelphia and Baltimore B2C neighborhoods, wanting people to come in and invest, right? That was really the goal. And then over time, and I'm going to go through this step by step, it actually, in this case, rebranded to Turnkey Property Pro, because they understood their market, they understood their client, they understood the people they wanted to serve, wanted more of a turnkey approach. And we're going to go through how that transpired in a few minutes. So decision number 1 of the unique method: declare your unicorn revision and mission. I love this quote. If you love Steve Jobs or not, but when he says, when you're working on something that you truly care about, nobody has to push you. Your vision simply pulls you. Wow, right? Like that's what we should be feeling when we're thinking about our world, when our business, right? We created our business, right? We were wanting to do this instead of having a full-time job, right? And so when you think about visioning in general, yes, it's about planning, right? But I started digging deeper. I'm like, why are these tech companies called unicorns? Maybe I should have known that. I didn't know, but I had to Google it, guys. And I Googled unicorn. The second definition of unicorn was something that's highly desirable but difficult to find or obtain. And I was like, exactly, your vision needs to be that. It needs to be thinking about the big problem you want to solve, the conviction and experience that you have around it. And funny enough, what I say, it might be a little visceral, but it needs to make you want to throw up in your mouth. It's a big deal. And so in this, what I'm going to actually share with you is I'm going to give a second to Simon Sinek here, who is an expert in knowing your why and knowing your vision. And this is a 1-minute clip, the importance of vision.
Vision really matters, right? Like when you have far off destination that you're pursuing, you can adapt much more easily. So let's take a silly analogy. Let's say you live on the East Coast and you want to go to the West Coast. You pick a route, you pick a highway, you pick a road, and you make your way towards where you're going. Now, all of a sudden, there's a car accident and there's a blockage and everything comes to a grinding halt. You have options. You can either sit in the traffic or you can take the first exit and take a slower, more meandering road, but you're still going in the basic same direction. Companies with vision, that's like having a destination. They are able to pivot, go sideways, go around, go slower, go on small roads, but they have a basic sense that they're moving in the same and right direction. Companies without vision, companies without a sense of the infinite road ahead, they're going to sit there and panic. We're not moving, we're not going. And if they do take a side road, they'll have no idea which one to take or which direction to go in. And so that infinite mindset sets these long distance just causes that help focus us and give us a direction, especially when we face blockages.
And that concept of blockages is so interesting, right? Because The reality is last year, a lot of us faced a lot of blockages. And when you looked at that meme, that first one I shared where, the chair was taken away from that one guy and he fell and the other one and he was still grounded. That's what this is about, right? I want you to still be grounded even when shit hits the fan, right? And here's your opportunity to declare it, right? Because your business is bigger than you. Your vision is to declare, it's a declaration of how your organization will change the world. And your mission should state who you serve, what you serve, and how you do it, but include a rally cry. And I'll give you an example here. Going back to our case study, in the past with S7 Real Estate, their vision was just transforming, and I want to say just because it's important, transforming old places into new living spaces. So that was the idea of the business. It was exciting. It was beautiful in its own right. But when they got clear on who they wanted to serve, they looked at things differently, because it really, when you commit to a vision, it gets you out of bed when you don't want to get out of bed. When it's like it's a thing of what you can speak about with people, and they start to feel the momentum from you just speaking about what you do. So a vision now was a world where everyday people can easily build wealth through real estate investments. And their mission, this is what I was talking about, a rally cry, and they added a number to help 500,000 individuals and their families find real success in a turnkey income generating real estate investment. So just think about how that makes you feel, because the concept of articulating your vision and mission, why is important at this stage of your growth? Because it takes time. Success takes time. And some people, again, I said at the beginning, I'm not somebody who believes in overnight success, but success and scale do take time. And words have a power to inspire. If you're trying to inspire yourself when you're like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Why did this happen yesterday? Inspire others to come onto your team. Inspire your prospects and your clients that this is why you do what you do with them every day. And guys, I'm talking from an impact perspective, but I'm also talking from a profit perspective. Okay, this is impact and profit language, but it is something that empowers you in a different way when you think about your unicorn vision. Listen, I have a lot of frameworks and a lot of tools. I can't share everything today. This is just like a 5 questions you can ask yourself. Happy to take a picture of this. I have a visioning exercise that if you're interested at the end, you can send me your email and I'll send it out to you guys to give you that starting point. That's step 1. But that is number 1, step 1. Step 2 is declaring your niche positioning. I don't know how many of you guys have heard, I think Ryan Dice is the guy, like the digital marketer guy, and he always says, riches are in the niches, And I say riches and more impact are in the niches, because you can go deeper, right? And so again, my meme, again, the first few years, right? Niching is a hard concept. You're like, I don't even know where to start. I'm just trying to get money in the door, keep the lights on. I'm trying to validate my offers. But over time, if you stay in that pocket of just trying to cater to everybody at all times, you're catering to nobody at no times, because it's really hard to sustain that way. You have to get clear on who you're speaking to. So according to according to Harvard Business Review, businesses that have a clearly defined niche and strong positioning in the market massively outperform those that don't in almost every way. From revenue, customer retention, employee satisfaction, quality of their client relationships. But I also know niching is a really hard buzzword for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? It almost puts people in a panic, because it's like that concept that you're like, I can't choose. I want to serve everybody. I'm really good at everything. All of that. And I'm not saying you're not, but I want you to think about, these are the questions that I get. How can I niche down without limiting my future growth? How broad or specific should my niche be? What if I change my mind? And what if you feel like, it feels like it's putting me in a box? That's really hard for me. A couple things I want to say right off the bat, right? The niching is about what you're leading with in the market. It's part of the positioning, right? So you know who you're speaking to. So you know who you're attracting, because they're actually ideal clients for you. There may be 1 or 2 other areas that you may serve, but it's what you want to be known for, right? And so I want you to start to reframe this concept of niching if it still bothers you, if it's something that you haven't done or you've been considering but don't know how. And think about how less stressful your business would be if you could serve a highly targeted group of customers that were seeking out your level of expertise that you could solve in your unique way and transform their life and business. And they're willing to pay you the money without contest, right? Because they value your offer. How does that make you feel? So this is my, again, there's a lot that goes into identifying your niche and assessments and all this great stuff. But in one slide, this is what it is. You need to identify your unideal clients first. Who are they? Like think about your last, actually I have two exercises for you. One, I do a lot an exercise where you analyze your last 20 clients and really go deep into them. But one quick thing you could think about is write down the top 5 clients that you loved working with and the top 5 clients that made you the most money. What are those insights look like, right? Both from an ideal client perspective and an unideal client perspective. And this other analysis goes deeper. So 1, identify your unideal client. Number 2, identify then now your ideal client, going through that analysis again. But this is all learned niche positioning now, right? This concept means that you're not just making assumptions anymore. You're looking at your own data. You're looking at the clients that you've served. You're looking at the market. You're understanding how others are positioning themselves, right? And then you have to really decide and know, where do we play at our strengths? Where is it almost like I can close my eyes and I can do this work, but I can do it well? And it doesn't mean it's going to be boring. It's just a means of bringing on scalability, right? So in this case, again, the niche positioning for Turnkey Property Pro was this concept of turnkey development and investment, right? And their individual target became not everybody, but individuals who are looking for a turnkey monthly income generating real estate investment were willing to invest a minimum of $100K in one project, but want to have it done for them. It's the DIYers, very different market than somebody else who would be hands-on in the process, not looking for, different people for different reasons. This is a third one, a decision that's important. I'm going to go a little deeper in here. And then the last 3, it's going to be much more lighter because like I told you, the first 3 are the core to your decision-making, which will help build your last 3 part of your thought leadership messaging and your network. So the third one, which is really your secret sauce, is developing or declaring your intellectual property, right? So let's build off of this for a second. Vision gives you clarity on where you want to go. Niching gives you clarity on who you serve best. Positioning gives you clarity on what you want to be known for in the market to attract your ideal client. And intellectual property will give you and your prospects clarity on the proven approach, your proven approach, and or your core capabilities that will bring consistent results and will help you with scale. So what is IP for a professional services company? I know that's top of mind, right? It's like you're not a physical product. Maybe some of you guys are, that'd be different. But this is like literally there's 3 ways actually. The third way I haven't written here, but it's your proven system, your methodology, your framework, or it could be that you are just focused on 8 different things and you're just going to hone in on 2 and make that your core capability and go deep, right? That could also be within the world of IP. Ways to look at this also, I mean, again, I don't know who's in the personal branding space here, but this is just a good example for you to hear is that, you've seen a lot of the way people have curated IPs and programs and approaches. Hey, I was 150 pounds overweight and now look at me. I lost 150 pounds. I'm stronger than ever. I have a game-changing experience. I packaged it. I'm going to give it to you for whatever amount, right? From a business perspective, in a different business, a professional services business, you can really look back. Again, this goes back to why being in business for a while and the data is important. Knowing, going back to your expertise, knowing what were your proven systems, where is the transformations that you've created that have really helped and supported the clients that you're going after? How do you trademark that? What does that approach look like? Is it something very different than what you do than others? The reality is people are overwhelmed by choice, right? And a lot of times when you're niche, people are looking for a solution. They're looking for not a feature, they're looking for an outcome. If anything you take out of today, opportunity to stop selling features, it's your opportunity to start selling outcomes. It's a very big change in a mindset, right? And so this is wrapped up in your packages and your core offerings. And when you have an IP, all of a sudden your business becomes more scalable and less project-based because you have an approach, you have a process, you can train on that, you can create frameworks around that, you can create talks around that, you can create solutions around that, right? Versus being everything to everybody, versus going from project to project to project that are all different. Here's your opportunity. So a couple key case studies here. I just think this one I love. Okay. So I know the CEO of Yellowtail really well. So here's a company on the right. And they didn't look like this even, God, a year ago, less than a year ago. But he's a CEO of a company for training for Linux and cloud training. Okay. They actually used to have a place in Silver Spring, Maryland, which was a in-person training facility. He has great educators to get people certified through a program. And what he realized, and COVID actually helped him tremendously. This man is scaled ridiculous right now, but he decided to go from, having anything with overhead in terms of an actual building to everything online. That was change number one. Change number two was getting very clear on who is it that he's going to go after from the, they've been in business 7 years now. So he had the data. He knew who's going to be most successful at these certifications. He knew the outcomes that these individuals were getting. They have tremendous amount of credibility and have built now in their new platform a lot of testimony that people are validating that what he's saying is true. And he got very specific. We help people with no IT backgrounds or technical degrees get their first high-paying IT job. And so they put them through this training, and it's an expensive training. And they now, through that niche alone, they have built thought leadership around it. Their branding is all around it. They're enrolled their niche network. They have partners who are recruiters and some of the major like AWS and others who are looking for entry-level people who are certified, who are trained, who are coached by, him and his team, because they're building those things because they can. They're so clear on their model right now, and it works. Really cool. On the left was not his company, just so you know. That's just another Linux training class company. Look at the difference. Where would you go? Right? Here's another one. So this is Denise Harris. She's an executive coach. She's had 20 some years of corporate experience. She's been in business 5 years now. And her target, initially, she was executive coaching everybody. Really big names, big anchor companies, all of that. And last year she started thinking through a program. She wanted to figure out who is it that she feels most compelled to support, who is it that she feels most excited to serve, and what type of transformation can she make for them? What's the need? And so she ended up curating a trademark around elevated leadership. And it's a program specifically for corporate executive women who are, who've done well, right? And they're at a level and they're at a place now that like they've done a lot of the tactical, but they need to get to the strategic. They need to become the visionary leaders, the authentic leaders. And that's what the whole focus of elevated leadership and her programming going forward is going to be all about, from her workshops, to her accelerators, to, you name it, from the products that she curates through for these particular women. And the last one, so she went also from commodity, which is an executive coaching. Everybody can be called an executive coach, to a niche transformation. And then in the world of our case study, they turned overwhelm in terms of development and investment, all this stuff, and turned it into ease, right? They curated their own process. They said, hey, we are going to find you the property. We are going to renovate the property. We are going to find, and their unique value proposition on top of that is we're going to find your first tenant, vet them out, and property manage. And here's the fee. But guess what? By the time your house is even done, you already have equity in it. I mean, they had such a strong value proposition, right? Where that ideal client, why would they say no if that's the market they were looking for? So again, stop selling features, start selling transformations to the ideal client and what they seek. You know, this is an opportunity for you to become that expert, and for some, become that Sherpa, and stop taking orders from people, right? You need to come in. If you've been in business for a while, you've seen really smart ways of doing things, you have the outcomes, you can prove it, it's what your ideal client seeks, you become that expert, and we make you into being seen as that expert or as that Sherpa in the market, and not just another service provider. I'm going to pass that one right now. Okay, so the other three we're going to go through pretty quickly. Like I said, once you have declared your niche, your your vision and your IP, this concept of thought leadership is someone with proven expertise and experience who's compelled to share in the world. Your credibility is so important in the market that we live in today with Google and Yelp reviews and this, that, and the other. But if things start to line up, things get easier around creating a plan around thought leadership, because you know where you want to be. You know what types of outcomes you're trying to provide people through the work that you're doing. And that thought leadership just becomes much more easier to put together. And like I said, it's not about ego. This is how we, can serve you better. Think about it like that. So social proof is such an important piece of this pie, and a lack of it more than ever before is deterring you. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. For this company, they had from, the media insights to social to showcasing on their actual website some of the key KPIs and indicators that they've been doing this for a while. So then again, you go back and you're like, wow, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. So now, again, you've made these three decisions. Your branding becomes, again, that much easier to get clear on and speak to, like you're actually speaking to a persona. This is where many businesses go flat, right? Once the market, the reality is when things are broken, right? And I mentioned this before, marketing agencies can't fix what is broken, right? The unique method changes that by giving you that clear vision of what you do best and with who. And so that starts to be much more simpler to speak directly to your ideal client. You're not building a brand for yourself. You got to remember that. This time around, you're building a brand that speaks to your ideal client. It's very different. And, again, this is about showing up as the expert and creating that transformation. So again, Turnkey, they did a great job of showcasing that as well. I'm not going to go into that right now. And lastly, we're going to talk about how this concept of organic marketing, you know who you are, you know who you serve, you have your secret sauce, you bring together your messaging, your marketing, but you have to sell, all right? And one of the key things about a niche network is now, instead of going out and networking to everybody, it's like you want to create alliances and partnerships that have relational capital. I'm sure you've heard this concept. Your net worth is your net worth. But I'm going to take it one step further in terms of, this is where we get caught up. It's not what you know. It's who knows that you know what you know. I think I got that from Landmark Forum, if anybody's taken that course. But it's really, this is the time where we need to really be smart and strategic about developing, centers of influences and joint ventures and affiliate partners and with people that have relational capital with you, right? So at the end of the day, it's not a one-way relationship. It has to be somebody, again, who either shares your ideal client, there's some positive and win-win on both sides, right? And, true or false, the reality is referrals can kill your business. Is that true or false? And I would say it's true in a way when they're bad referrals, right? And that kind of comes full circle from where we started earlier, because bad referrals are the ones when you're not clear on your own brand. And because you're not clear on your own brand, that means probably you're not clear on your vision, on who you're speaking to and your secret sauce. So it comes back to people providing you all these referrals that are killing your business, even though it's unintentional, right? So I just wanted to bring that full circle with you. So in the end, the unique method is 6 steps: building your unique unicorn vision, revisioning, inspiring you and your team and your others, niche positioning, playing to your strengths, developing your IP, really focusing on your secret sauce and your core capabilities to create an approach, a framework, or getting very simplified in your core capabilities. And let those 3 decisions drive your thought leadership, your branding, and the way you reach out to the market. So before I close, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes one more time. And I want you to go back to the intention I set for you when we started. Now imagine, what your aligned brand looks like. Imagine when you serve your ideal clients and you solve their problems consistently. Imagine your ability to be able to scale faster and make more impact and make more profit. I've given you the framework. Open your eyes. So here's an opportunity now, to really think about that in your perspective. Anytime you go through an exercise like this, always put your business in mind, right? It's like, wow, how could we do something a little different? What are some decisions we've been holding on to that we haven't made? Where could we go all in when we've done the analysis? Where have we been most successful, right? And if anybody would like a copy of a summary of the method, and I'm also going to be creating a guide, not help you find mind, sorry for that typo, but help you find your unicorn vision. I can also provide that as well. You can go to disruptive.ceo/unique-method for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Seema. And with that, we are at time for today's session. I would suggest we wrap it up. We will get together next week, same time, same place, right here on Zoom, to talk about sales for founders and how to build a scalable sales operating system. I dropped the link in the chat earlier where you can still sign up for this session, but also for all the other sessions. We have 4 sessions coming up in this program. Very excited for that. Seema will also be with us, if I'm not mistaken, right?
So yes, look forward to it.
You'll be there for the entire journey. Awesome. Looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much for sharing such great advice. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.